The galaxies reject. The great assembly hall of the Galactic Concord fell silent as the vote concluded. The holographic tally hovered in the center of the vast chamber. 274 in favor, 268 opposed, 42 abstentions. After 3 solar cycles of heated debate, humanity had been granted provisional membership in the ancient alliance of spacefaring civilizations. It was the narrowest margin in the Concord's 12,000-year history. High Chancellor Galactic, his translucent exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's ambient light, rose from the central dais. The Arthurian leader's compound eyes surveyed the assembly before settling on the small human delegation. The Concord acknowledges Earth's petition for membership, he announced, voice amplified throughout the chamber. As per our traditions, your species will be granted a vessel from our fleet to facilitate your integration into galactic affairs. Ambassador Elena Santos nodded respectfully, though the tension in her shoulders betrayed her awareness of the room's hostility. Humanity's explosive growth and rapid technological development, after discovering faster-than-light travel, had unnerved many established species. In a private chamber following the ceremony, Fleet Admiral Vexlor of the militant Sarkin Empire made no attempt to hide his disdain. "You realize they'll be extinct within a cycle," he growled to his colleagues. "Their homeworld barely survived their own technological adolescence. They're aggressive, unpredictable, and they breed like parasites." "Perhaps," replied Corinna, the elder representative of the philosophical Medusan collective. "Yet they possess remarkable adaptability. They achieved in centuries what took most of our species millennia." Admiral Vexlor's scaled lip curled. "Then let's test that adaptability. Give them the endurance." The others exchanged meaningful glances. The Endurance was notorious throughout the fleet, an outdated cruiser that had been slated for decommissioning cycles ago. It remained in service only because scrapping it would require acknowledging the expenditure as a loss. "It's settled then," High Chancellor Galactic said with a dismissive wave of his upper limbs. "The humans receive the Endurance. If they can operate it at all, perhaps they might prove their worth. If not..." He didn't need to finish the thought. Captain Maya Chen stood in the docking bay of Concord Station Alpha, staring through the observation window at humanity's first official interstellar vessel. The Endurance looked like it had been through a war, or several. Its hull plating was mismatched from countless repairs, with visible welding seams crisscrossing its surface like scars. "So this is the Concord's generous gift," Commander Raj Patel remarked dryly beside her. As her newly appointed executive officer, he had every right to share her disappointment. "It's a test," Maya replied, eyes still fixed on the ship, "and not a particularly subtle one." Raj nodded. "The engineering team's initial report is worse than we expected. Propulsion systems running at 40% efficiency, life support requiring constant monitoring, weapons systems that haven't been calibrated in what appears to be decades." Maya finally turned to him, a determined smile playing at her lips. "Then it's a good thing we brought the best crew in the United Earth Fleet." The 50-member crew assembled in the main hangar represented Earth's finest: engineers, tacticians, scientists, and specialists from dozens of nations. They had been selected not only for their skills but for their creativity and adaptability. Dr. Eliza Wong, their chief engineer, was already circling the ship with her team, scanner in hand, muttering to herself. "Captain," she called out, not bothering to look up from her readings. "You need to see this." Inside the ship, the situation was even more dire. The bridge consoles were antiquated, with manual override systems that most advanced species had long since automated. The propulsion chamber housed a reactor design at least 4 generations behind current Concord standards. The weapons array consisted primarily of low-yield pulse cannons that would struggle to penetrate modern shielding. "It's not just outdated," Dr. Wong said, brushing a strand of gray-streaked hair from her face. "It's deliberately hamstrung. Look at these power conduits. They've been restricted to prevent the reactor from reaching full capacity." "Can we fix it?" Maya asked. Dr. Wang's expression shifted from frustration to the gleam of someone presented with an intriguing puzzle. "Fix it, Captain. We can transform it." "That would violate Concord protocols." The Medusan liaison officer, Nix, interjected. The gelatinous being had been assigned to assist the humans in acclimating to their vessel. Alterations to Concord vessels must be approved through proper channels. Maya considered this, and what exactly constitutes an alteration under Concord law. Nix's translucent form pulsed with uncertainty. Any change to the fundamental design or function of ship systems. "Ah," Maya said with a smile. "But repairs and maintenance are permitted." "Of course," Nix replied. "Essential maintenance is required." "Excellent. Dr. Wang, please begin essential maintenance on all systems immediately. Commander Patel, assemble department heads for a briefing in 1 hour." As the crew dispersed to their assignments, Maya ran her hand along a worn control panel. This wasn't the vessel Earth had hoped for, but perhaps it was the one they needed. A challenge worthy of human ingenuity. 3 weeks later, the Endurance barely resembled the derelict they had received. Under Dr. Wang's guidance, the engineering team had stripped redundant systems, rerouted power conduits, and reconfigured the reactor cooling system using principles developed for Earth's fusion plants. The weapons systems had been completely overhauled by Lieutenant Commander Takashi Yamamoto, formerly of the Japanese Space Defense Force. Rather than attempting to upgrade the outdated pulse cannons directly, he had repurposed them to serve as focusing arrays for a distributed energy weapon network of his own design. "It's technically still the same weapon system," he explained with a mischievous grin during a progress briefing. "We've just improved how it distributes energy." Even the ship's aesthetics had changed. The mismatched hull plates had been uniformly sealed and coated with a carbon polymer compound developed for Earth's deep space habitats, improving both thermal regulation and micrometeor protection. Nix observed these activities with increasing alarm, but found themselves unable to cite specific violations of protocol. The humans were maddeningly precise in their adherence to the letter, if not the spirit, of Concord regulations. "Your species has unusual methods," Nix commented as Maya inspected the newly configured bridge. "We adapt," she replied simply. "It's what humans do best." The real test came sooner than anyone expected. During a routine system check, Communications Officer Lieutenant Sophia Reyes intercepted a distress signal from an outpost on the edge of Concord space. "Automated beacon, Captain," she reported. "Planetary outpost Gamma 9 reporting an attack by unidentified vessels. The signal's been repeating for approximately 6 hours." Maya turned to Nix. "Where's the nearest Concord response vessel?" The Medusan consulted a data terminal. "The Vigilant is patrolling that sector, but is currently 16 hours from the outpost at maximum speed." Maya nodded. "And we're 5 hours away at our current capability." "Lieutenant Rice, forward the distress signal to Concord Command and inform them we're responding." "Captain," Nix protested, "the Endurance is not authorized for emergency response. Your provisional status requires." "We're the closest vessel to people in danger." Maya interrupted. "Concord Charter, Section 12, Paragraph 4. All Alliance vessels are obligated to render aid to endangered sentients when capable of doing so." Nix pulsed with frustration but couldn't refute the citation. "Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto, ready defensive systems," Maya ordered. "Dr. Wang, I need everything the engines can give us without melting down. Commander Patel, plot an intercept course for Gamma 9. As the Endurance accelerated toward the distant outpost, Maya knew they were heading into more than a rescue mission. This was humanity's first real test in the galactic community, one that would be watched very carefully by allies and skeptics alike. "Captain," Nix said quietly beside her, "I should inform you that Gamma 9 is primarily a scientific outpost. It has minimal defenses and houses researchers from 12 different Concord species." Maya understood the unspoken message. This wasn't just about proving human worth. Lives were genuinely at stake. "Thank you, Nix," she replied. "We won't let them down." The retrofitted engines hummed with barely contained power as the Endurance pushed beyond its designed limits, hurtling toward a confrontation that would either validate humanity's place among the stars or confirm the Concorde's worst fears about their volatile new members. Humanity's response. The Endurance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Gamma 9 system. The bridge view screen revealed 3 sleek, predatory vessels in orbit around the small research outpost. Energy weapons lanced from their gunports into the planet's atmosphere, targeting the outpost's minimal defensive shield. Tarkarian raiders. Nix identified, their gelatinous form contracting in alarm. They're not part of any recognized government, pirates who prey on isolated outposts. Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto's tactical display showed the raiders' firepower vastly outmatched the Endurance's capabilities, even with their modifications. 3 against 1, significantly superior armaments, he reported calmly. Conventional engagement would be inadvisable. Then we won't engage conventionally, Maya replied. Dr. Wong, is the gravitational displacement system operational? The chief engineer's voice came through the comm with a hint of excitement. Theoretically, Captain. We've never tested it in combat conditions. No time like the present. Commander Patel, open a channel to the raiders. The main view screen shifted to show the interior of the lead raider vessel. A Tarkarian commander, reptilian, with a ridge of armored plates along his skull, regarded them with obvious amusement. A human vessel, he hissed, mandibles clicking. The Concorde must truly despise this outpost to send such pitiful assistance. This is Captain Maya Chen of the Concorde vessel Endurance. You are engaged in an illegal attack against a protected scientific installation. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. The Tarkarian's laugh was like grinding metal. Your vessel is outdated and outgunned, human. Perhaps we will take it as a trophy after we finish with the outpost. You have 1 minute to comply, Maya stated, then cut the transmission. They're not going to retreat, Captain, Commander Patel observed. No, they're not. Maya turned to Yamamoto. Target their propulsion systems with the pulse array. Dr. Wong, prepare the displacement system for a narrow field activation on my mark. What happened next would later be recounted with awe in Concorde mission reports. The Endurance accelerated directly toward the largest raider vessel, appearing to commit to a suicidal ramming maneuver. The raiders, momentarily confused by this irrational tactic, hesitated to fire. Displacement system active, Dr. Wong reported as they closed to what should have been point-blank range. Execute, Maya ordered. The system, cobbled together from the ship's gravitational stabilizers and shield generators, created a localized distortion in space-time directly in front of the Endurance. The effect lasted only seconds, but it was enough to shift the ship 15 degrees out of phase with normal space, allowing it to pass partially through the startled raiders' vessel. As they emerged on the other side, Yamamoto fired the reconfigured pulse arrays, not as weapons, but as energy disruptors that cascaded through the raider ship's systems, temporarily paralyzing its functions. 1 down, Maya announced. Bring us about for the second vessel. The remaining raiders, witnessing what appeared to be inexplicable physics, broke formation. One turned to flee while the other redirected all power to weapons, unleashing a barrage at the Endurance. Shields at 62%, Paddle reported as the ship shuddered. Maya nodded. Dr. Wong, vent the coolant system. Venting now. The modified cooling system, another of the engineering team's unorthodox improvements, released superheated plasma in a controlled burst, not as a weapon, but as a sensor scrambling cloud. The raiders' targeting systems, calibrated for conventional defenses, failed to penetrate the thermal interference. They're blind, Yamamoto confirmed, moving into optimal position. The Endurance circled behind the confused vessel, targeting precisely the junction between its shield generator and power core, a vulnerability specific to Tarkarian ship design that Lieutenant Reyes had identified in the Concorde database during their approach. A single, concentrated burst from their makeshift weapons array struck the unshielded section. The Raider's power grid cascaded into failure, leaving it adrift and defenseless. The third vessel, witnessing the fate of its companions, accelerated to escape velocity. "Should we pursue?" Commander Patil asked. Maya shook her head. "The outpost is our priority. Lieutenant Reyes, inform Concord Command of our status and request medical support. Let's see what we can do for the researchers." The diplomatic fallout came swiftly. As Maya stood in the holographic projection chamber aboard the Endurance 3 days later, facing the assembled representatives of the Galactic Concord High Council, she knew that humanity's approach to their first crisis had shattered expectations, for better or worse. High Chancellor Xaltoth's compound eyes fixed on her with an unreadable expression. "Captain Chen, you were explicitly instructed not to modify Concord technology." "With respect, Chancellor, we performed necessary maintenance to bring the vessel up to operational standards," Maya replied evenly. Admiral Vexilor's scaled face contorted with frustration. "You reconfigured a gravitational stabilization system into a phase-shifting device. That violates 17 different protocols. We optimized existing systems for peak performance under stress conditions," Maya countered. "The Concord Engineering Corps has already verified that no fundamental alterations were made to the original technology." This was technically true, a fact that clearly infuriated the Admiral, but had fascinated the Concord's engineers, who had spent the past 2 days studying the humans' improvisations with barely concealed admiration. Kirna of the Medusan Collective spoke next, their voice carrying the measured tones of one who had seen many civilizations rise and fall. "The fact remains, Captain, that your actions saved 27 researchers and preserved irreplaceable scientific data. The Raiders had disabled the outpost's communication array before their first attack. Your vessel's intervention was their only hope." "And what of the Vigilant?" Maya asked. "Has there been any update on why a frontline Concord warship failed to respond to the initial distress call?" An uncomfortable silence fell across the council. It was Admiral Vexilor who finally responded, his voice grudging. "The Vigilant experienced unexpected navigational difficulties. It seems its command protocols were compromised. We are investigating the possibility that the Raiders had inside information about patrol schedules and security measures." Maya nodded slowly, understanding the unspoken implication. Someone within the Concord itself might have facilitated the attack, perhaps even someone who hadn't wanted humans to prove themselves worthy of membership. "The Council will deliberate on the appropriate response to these events," High Chancellor Xaltoth announced. "In the meantime, Captain Chen, your vessel and crew will remain at Concord Station Alpha, pending further instructions." As the Council members' holograms flickered out one by one, Admiral Vexilor remained. His reptilian features studied Maya with new consideration. "You were meant to fail," he said simply. "I know. Yet you took a vessel designed for obsolescence and outmaneuvered military-grade raiders." His head tilted slightly. "Perhaps I misjudged your species' potential." "That's the thing about humans, Admiral," Maya replied with a slight smile. "We tend to thrive when underestimated." The Sarkin's expression remained stern, but something like reluctant respect flickered in his eyes before his hologram dissolved. 1 week later, the crew of the Endurance gathered in the main hangar as High Chancellor Xaltoth himself boarded the vessel. The Council's deliberation had concluded, and humanity's fate within the Concord would now be decided. The Chancellor surveyed the assembled crew, his exoskeleton catching the light as he moved. "The Galactic Concord has existed for 12 millennia. In that time, we have incorporated countless species into our alliance, each bringing their own strengths and perspectives. Yet rarely have we witnessed such unconventional problem-solving as demonstrated by your crew, Captain Chen." Maya stood at attention, her expression neutral. "We acted as we believed necessary, Chancellor." "Indeed." Xaltoth produced a small crystalline device, an official Concord registry marker. "The Council has voted, unanimously this time, to confirm Earth's full membership in the Galactic Concord." A murmur of surprise ran through the crew. Even Maya couldn't hide her shock. Unanimously, Chancellor. Your actions at Gamma 9 revealed not only the resourcefulness we had hoped to test, but exposed serious vulnerabilities within our own systems. The raiders had obtained classified patrol routes and security codes, information that should have been impossible to access. Zeltoth's compound eyes fixed on Maya. Information that might never have been discovered without your unconventional intervention. The Chancellor approached the ship's hull, affixing the crystal marker beside the newly painted name, GCS Endurance. The designation officially recognized the vessel as a Galactic Concord starship rather than a provisional craft. Moreover, he continued, the Council has approved your request for the Endurance to be designated as a special operations vessel, with your current crew assigned permanently under your command. Maya exchanged glances with her officers, understanding the deeper meaning. The Concord was acknowledging that sometimes unorthodox approaches were necessary, that humanity's different perspective had value. There will be conditions, of course, Zaltov added. All future modifications must be documented, and you will work directly with Concord Engineering on integrating your innovations into proper protocols. We understand, Chancellor, Maya replied, and we're honored by the Council's trust. As Zaltov departed, Commander Patel approached Maya. Special Operations, Captain. That wasn't in our original mission parameters. Maya smiled. No, it wasn't. But I think we've just been given permission to keep being human. Around them, the Endurance, once the galaxy's reject, now a symbol of unexpected potential, hummed with power, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. What had begun as a test designed for failure had become the first chapter in humanity's contribution to a much larger story. The weakest ship in the fleet had become its most surprising strength.